Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Network 216 pregame show, your Browns versus 49ers game day preview. I am Tyler Johnson, joined by Zach DeFranco and Mr. Jacob Roach. Gentlemen, it's a fall Sunday morning. The weather, at least where I'm at, is kind of sunny and nice. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. I don't know.
Are you?
Bro, that was such a long pause for you to say that.
I mean, I'm starting early. I have to this Sunday, but I mean, is it weird to say I'm optimistic and not optimistic at the same time about today? It's weird. It's a weird feeling I have going on. It's like every Sunday the Browns find a way to just pull me in no matter what.
Yeah, they'll do that to you because earlier in the week I was feeling pretty good because I wasn't like allowing any of the nonsense that surrounds it bother me, and just worrying about like what's going to happen on the field and things like that. And then, as the week got longer, I started getting more optimistic because I started like convincing myself of many factors that could go in their direction. So I think I'm one of the more optimistic people waking up today. So I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, glad to hear that. But of course, before we get to anything, guys, just as a reminder, please consider just dropping a like on today's video. Again, that helps that YouTube algorithm grow for Network 216. But also, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new Network 216. We're trying to reach 3,000 subscribers here before the end of the year. We're about 800 away from that. So we're getting closer and closer every single week. And every single person that subscribes, just keep in mind that you are entered in for exclusive giveaways that we have available to YouTube subscribers, including the giveaway that we're actually going to announce a little bit later in today's show. But also, just as a reminder, you can join us on Lockerverse. You want to make sure you go to that Dog Pound Lounge. We had a lot of people that tuned in last pregame show, but also on Wednesday night. So thank you guys. We want to read your questions, your comments. Feel free to drop them in the chat. If you guys have any questions for today's game, drop those in the chat. Keep it civil. That's really all I ask, because if it's not going to be read aloud or posted. So that's all we ask. So, guys, the big news from today's game, of course, is, and it was early in the week we found out, Deshaun Watson will not be playing this week against the 49ers. It will be P.J. Walker. First off, Deshaun's going to be out this week. Not that that's a surprise, but how are you guys feeling this week with P.J. Walker at quarterback compared to with Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback? The reason I ask, P.J. Walker is 4-3 as a starter. The stats aren't great, but at the same time, he has won games at an NFL level and done what it takes to win. So how are you guys feeling, at least from a confidence standpoint, in P.J. Walker compared to Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
The big thing is that's Walker Ohio Ranger to you, so let's make sure we get that.
I was waiting
right.
for it. I was waiting for it.
We just got to put some respect on my boy's name there. Yeah, no, like that's former XFL MVP PJ Walker, and it's like 5 games in that season, I think. Anyway, I like it, man. You never know what you're gonna get with a rookie, even if it's a high pick. I think you never fully know like exactly how the rookies are going to do, just because it's such a difference in terms of like the speed of the game going from college to the NFL, even for a guy like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who played a ton of college football. So you can vehemently say very confidently that like he's seen a lot of football, but you could still see that the speed and the wrinkles that NFL defenses throw at you, he's just not there yet. And I think long-term, they'll be perfectly fine with him. But you go into the PJ Walker, who has 7 starts. I believe he's played in 15 games. He's played in a handful more games than he has started. I can remember, and I'll just put it this way. I can remember the excitement for a lot of people when he got to the practice squad, knowing that there was a player like that if they truly had to resort to somebody being the starter outside of Watson. There was a lot of confidence in him because he can run the same style of offense. He's not the passer that Watson is, but I think he's a better runner than Watson is. So you can go out there and not have to completely remake the offense for PJ Walker. because you know that he's seen it. You sometimes with a rookie, you kind of dumb it down, so to speak, trying to make sure that it's simplistic going out there. And if you have a simple game plan going against the 49ers, you have no shot. So I'm at like a 6 on the confidence scale, but for some odd reason, I just feel really confident in PJ Walker today.
Yeah, I feel confident in the point of like, now we were told they had all week to plan around PJ in this offense now. So obviously there's more clear things than, hey, DTR 5th round rookie, you're starting at 10:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. It's PJ Walker, go out there, just manage the game, make the plays that you need to make. And Jacob, you talked me into it, man. With this defense against Kyle Shanahan, dude, you really did. You got me a little hyped up there. I didn't know those stats like you showed me and that record against, this type of defense. So, that alone, if you go out there, kind of play like a Jacoby-esque game, just manage it, do your job. It is tougher and easier said than done without someone like Nick Chubb running behind you as well. And offensive line a little banged up. But, if the defense comes out and does their job, anything is possible, especially in Ohio as well.
Yeah, I think with PJ Walker, again, you have a guy that's proven he can win games in the NFL. He is a mobile quarterback. I remember when preseason was over with, we thought we were going to have Kellen Mond in this situation. And then we see that, the Browns have signed PJ Walker to the practice squad. And we're like, all right, like I'm on board with that. And I think overall with PJ Walker, they're going to respect PJ more. Not that they don't respect Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but there's a confidence that PJ Walker can go out and win you this football game. Now, again, there's a lot of things stacked against you, but players know guys that have proven they can win in the NFL, and they sense that type of thing. That's what PJ Walker can do for you. Now, the thing that's going to be difficult for PJ, of course, not only is he playing the best team in the NFL defensively, but he is going to be without one of the best linemen in the history of the Cleveland Browns. Joel Bitonio will not be playing today. How big of a loss is that for this offensive line? I know we have Michael Dunn that can step in for him. And this is nothing against Michael Dunn. Michael Dunn's actually a really good backup to have on the roster. He's not Joel Bitonio. I think that loss of Joel Bitonio is going to be felt a little. I'm afraid it's going to be felt a little bit today. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think it'll be. I just think from the standpoint, I'll make it quick. Like, our offensive line has kind of had their bumps and bruises this year. I think it's adapting to a QB like Deshaun as well. Someone that extends plays. It's way different than Baker or Jacoby. But that being said, the one bright spot on our offense line was Bitonio, as always. So I think that is something that they're going to have to overcome, and it's going to be tough. So, yeah, Jacob, I'll let you say your point, but I definitely think you're gonna notice that Bitonio's not out there a few times today.
Yeah, you can never lose a multiple-time All-Pro player and not feel some kind of effect from it. Like, how big of an effect? I don't know, but you definitely are going to see the drop off. Like Zach said, Michael Dunn is absolutely a serviceable backup. I actually think he is a better run blocker than he is a pass protector. That's kind of been his strength, was pushing people in the run game, which I think they have to get going to win this game. So that's kind of a good thing that the backup is really good at that aspect of it. Not better than Joel Bitonio, but he's pretty good. When it comes to that, it's really going to be a test. Javon Hargrave's in there, man. It's not a nobody you're making this start against. You're making against one of the bigger free agent signings of the offseason. Everybody wanted Javon Hargrave, and the Browns did. And he ends up getting this massive extension or massive contract in San Francisco. So I don't know if it's going to be. This is something that I kept coming to, thinking about some of the injuries when people were trying on Twitter and other social media to just give up on this game and give up on the season. Just remember how many injuries the last 2 weeks ago that the Ravens had, and they went out there and they still executed and attacked and kicked ass despite some of their better players being sat. I still don't think this is a panic situation, but it's less than ideal.
Nick says I'm talking to myself and thinking we're going to get a big dub today. I'll admit, Jacob, you guys on Friday, I'm I'm not saying that we're going to win, but I will admit there is more optimism I have today than I did on Thursday. Okay, like I'll at least admit that. So game predictions, of course, are going to come later in the show, but yeah, I mean, it's a huge loss. There's no way around it, and the fact that he played 102 straight games, it's unfortunate the streak ends, and that's why another Hall of Famer, Joe Thomas, his streak of like nearly 10,800 snaps without missing a single snap is a record that might never be broken, just for what we're seeing with Bitonio as well. But you're going up against Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, this entire defensive line for the 49ers. And there's no other way around it. They're a very talented football team. But one player that PJ is going to have at his disposal today, I was a little surprised because earlier in the week it sounded like he wasn't going to play. Because Mary Kay Cabot reported along with Joel Bitonio, the Chief, David Njoku, is once again going to play this week. He is recovering from burns on his face and his hands, and they had to be careful with this because they're at the final process of him healing from these burns. You got to be really careful with this. But David Njoku is going to play today. How effective do you guys expect him to be today? I think he's going to end up being more of a safety blanket, I think, for PJ Walker. I really think he could end up leading the Browns in targets today. What do you guys think?
He led the team in all the major receiving categories last 2 weeks ago when he was coming off of like getting the burns like not even 48 hours prior. He came out there and he balled out, had probably his best game of the season. He didn't take his helmet off when he was on the field once, and I think it's probably because he couldn't. When you're looking at those images he posted on Instagram, it's big because I thought him being out, like a lot of people were like, just sit everybody and punt on this game, and then all these other players are like, you know what? No. We're not a bunch of pussies. We're going to play our game, and if we're healthy enough to play, we're going to play. If we're not healthy enough to play, we'll sit on the sideline and get ready for Indianapolis next week. But a safety blanket. I look at him. I look at Kareem Hunt in the receiving game being leaned on heavily. There's a lot of winds and stuff going on up there in Lake Erie, so we'll see how the weather affects the game. But critical, huge, I don't know. A huge fact that he's going to be on the field.
Yeah, I think that nails it right there, Jacob. It's like the word safety blanket. Like I think that's what Njoku was for DTR last week, even with how sloppy that offense looked. So I think outside of like Cooper, and I'm really hoping that we will see Elijah Moore be utilized as a traditional wide receiver coming out of the bye week. I mean, the dude creates elite separation. It's time to just use him as a wide receiver, no matter who's at quarterback. So I'm definitely hoping we see a big game out of Njoku and have Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper kind of, carry the offense as well in the receiving game.
I think the hard thing in this game is going to be, because I know it's coming. I'm preparing myself mentally to see this all over social media today. When the Browns aren't able to run against the 49ers and PJ Walker has to throw it over 30 times, everyone's going to blitz the fancy for the game plan. But the reality is, I think people need to understand this is one of the best defenses in the NFL for a reason. The expectation is the Cowboys, who I think Tony Pollard is a pretty underrated running back, didn't do anything against this defensive line. You're going to probably have to throw in this game to stay in this, I think, because the offensive line has proven that right now run blocking has been a huge issue. So do you guys think the Browns can do enough running the ball with Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt to take a little pressure off PJ Walker? Because personally, for me, I'm not really confident in that just by what we've seen the last weeks. And now you're without Joel Bitonio on the left side of that offensive line.
I think the Browns could do enough running the ball if they use Pierre Strong a little more too. I really like Pierre Strong, dude. I really want to see him get used more. I mean, out of all the running backs we're using outside, as soon as Nick Chubb went down, he's the one that's showing the most, promise. So I would like to see him be used more. Honestly, I'd like to see him be used more than Jerome Ford right now. I think he has, a solid pep in his step outside as soon as the ball is snapped. So he's quick. He can make plays. Jerome Ford is great making plays as a wide receiver and on the outside. So I think Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong should definitely be utilized more together.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Pierre Strong's got that home run hitting. Like Pierre Strong's got the ability to hit those home runs, like more so than Jerome Ford, and especially more so than Kareem Hunt. But and that's not a knock really on Jerome Ford. I just think Pierre Strong's got better acceleration and a higher ceiling in terms of how fast he can get. I think he's faster. So I think you got to get real creative with it. But I've said it, watching the Cardinals game was a pretty big indication to me when the Cardinals played the Niners about how you want to attack this defense. They didn't really have the skill players and talent to execute it enough to win. That and their defense couldn't stop the 49ers offense. But when you look at it, Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals had a lot of success using the quarterback run game. And sometimes it was just the threat of the quarterback run game. It was the RPOs and the zone reads, and especially on the keepers and some quarterback draws and some things that line up with this skill set of PJ Walker that the Browns absolutely need to do today to be successful. But you can just see that that's the one area. That is the one area that I think you can exploit against the Niners defense front seven. It is misdirection with quarterback runs. That's really where I think that if there's a weakness, I think it's there for the defense. They don't have any depth at corner or two. So if you spread them out wide outside of their top two corners, there's a lot of question marks behind it. So if you want to try to attack it from that direction as well, but if they want to get the run game going, it's going to have a lot to do with PJ Walker initiating it in my mind.
No, yeah, and I think that's a thing that we've wanted to see a lot more from. I mean, we saw it against Tennessee, obviously, but you wanted to see that more with Watson coming into the fold, is using those RPOs, using those different read options again to create more pressure on the defense. And I agree with what you said. PJ is known to be able to run, not only in the XFL, in the NFL as well. He's shown that he has the ability to do that, and you should absolutely take advantage of that. Broken Arrow says the Browns have to win, are going to have to win the turnover battle. And that right there has been the biggest problem all year long to beat, not only for the Browns to win, but for the 49ers to lose. The 49ers do not lose that turnover battle. You know why? Because, boys, they have, and I still stand by, I know like some people disagree with this comment, they have one of the most underrated quarterbacks, and right now a top 10 quarterback at the helm in Brock Purdy, who is, this offense does not skip a beat. He is running it to perfection, and right now he just does not turn the ball over.
Yeah. Brock Purdy is probably one of the better processors in the NFL. He's elite at diagnosing and understanding what's happening in front of him. I was on the train of like, hey, Brock Purdy's a system quarterback. It's all about Kyle Shanahan, and it's all this. Going into this year, that was where I was, and watching him recently in the last few weeks, it's like, no, that's not. Like, is he getting help from Kyle Shanahan in that offense? God, yes. But like, would they be completely screwed if they couldn't scheme open wide receivers and put him on bootlegs and stuff like that, and he had to stay in the pocket? No, because I think he's a great from the pocket. He doesn't have an elite like downfield arm, but he's very accurate. He places the ball exactly where it needs to be, especially in the short and intermediate game. They rely on a lot of stuff after catch. They rely on a lot of yak because they have players like Debo and Ayuk and George Kittle that can create after the pass. But Purdy understands what's happening in front of him to an absolute elite level. And you've got to get pressure on him, because if you think he's just the nobody that was the final pick of the draft, that's just not the case.
Yeah, I mean, he's just very good at those quick releases. This offense is just looking very solid around him. It's going to be tough to stop, man. It really is. Our defensive line has to create pressure and get to him fast, and these DBs just got to keep being locked down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brock Purdy, again, like I said, I still believe he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. I know people will tell me he's overrated. I don't get that impression at all. I mean, right now, you could make the case that could be the league MVP this year. I mean, you could make that case for Brock Purdy. I see that Josh says Brock is looking pretty purdy. I actually have as my quarterback in my fantasy leagues. Well, congrats, Josh. I do too. I actually picked him up after Aaron Rodgers got hurt for the year, so I'll take that. NPC says, huh?
Did you see the comments from Mike Florio a couple weeks ago as to why he doesn't think Brock Purdy is a franchise quarterback?
I didn't see those actually.
Florio, dude. But why? Why?
Oh God. So Florio was talking to Peter King, and like it was funny because Peter King's reaction was, "This might be the stupidest thing you've ever said," which is pretty much saying something about Mike Florio. So Florio started like listing quarterback names, like franchise quarterbacks: Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Steve Young. He was listing all these names, and he's like, "I don't think Purdy can become a household name because his name is too close to Turdy."
That's what he said.
Dude,
that's what he said.
How is that in any?
That joke
wow.
missed, huh? That joke missed.
That's just brutal, man. Like, that is
He wasn't laughing. He was not joking. He was not laughing. He wholeheartedly meant what he said.
You guys want to hear something real quick? If you guys want good value, Tyler brought it up pre-show. If you guys want good value, PJ Walker anytime touchdown is plus 750 right now on FanDuel. So I did build a parlay. I just want to say it real quick and get out of the way. All right. So I have Brandon Ayuk over 40 receiving yards. I have PJ Walker over 10.5 rushing yards.
Yeah.
PJ Walker anytime touchdown. Brock Purdy over his passing yards of 200.5. And I have Christian McCaffrey over 50 rushing yards. That's a lotto, boys. If you put $2 on that, you win $70-some.
We're just doing this.
That's nuts.
So
just saying, that's pretty good value.
I don't have anything right now, so I can't.
I do.
Add anything to that. No, I know. I'm saying I said I can't.
Oh, okay.
Do it personally.
Okay. Yeah. So I got a 6 leg parlay plus 1,400. I got $25 on this to win 364. I got Amari over 40.5 receiving yards. I got Brandon Ayuk over 50.5 receiving. This is where it kind of gets a little weird. I got Jerome Ford over 10.5 receiving. So just give me like one screen pass for 15 yards. We'll be okay. I got a Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown score. Jerome Ford to rush for 20 plus rushing yards, and Christian McCaffrey to get 50 plus rushing yards.
Okay. Dude, imagine if someone put down all of PJ Walker's props. You could win.
Yeah.
If it worked, you could win big dough, that's for sure. But anyway, I'm seeing a good comment here. Rogers like watching Network 216 on Facebook is living the hood life. I love that, dude.
Gosh.
I love it.
Okay.
Willie says that the Browns will upset the 49ers. We'll find out with game predictions later, whatever everyone else thinks.
Dude, I love Browns fans. I love Browns fans. All week, the world is crumbling around them. All hell is raising on earth, dude. All week.
Yeah.
And now it's Sunday. Yeah. We're winning. Okay, it's over.
We're doing it. Super Bowl, Super Browns, baby.
Bro. Let's go. I love it. Dude. Oh my God, it's so toxic. I love it.
We are locked in, baby. Locked in.
Dude, and I mean absolutely locked in. Someone said, okay, so someone on Lockerverse, Kevin said, how much do you think we will win by today?
Yeah. Let's go. Hey, I gotta tell you.
Huh?
I was told that PJ Walker's got that dog in him. So there you go. That's all you need. Browns by a billion.
But he wasn't barking in his press conference. So
shit, you're right.
Anyway, Kevin, we will be giving game predictions here at the end of the show. That's all. So we will be giving we're gonna be giving those game predictions at the end of the show. But anyway,
hold on.
Offense.
39.
That's
there
fine.
you go. Oh, my
That's fine.
goodness.
I thought it said
Someone
eat that
said
ass,
he-
but I was.
He said, "I think we're gonna win by 3." Does PJ Walker get us or have a chip?
Yeah, both.
All right, these are pretty good now. These are
It's
getting pretty good.
it's sour cream and cheddar chip on his shoulder. That's pretty good.
See what you did there. Took me a second, but I got it. I got it. This 49ers offense, guys, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, Jacob. They are the best in the NFL at yards after the catch. If you can find a way, and it's not easy, but if you can find a way to not let them get a ton of yards after the catch, I think you're going to be able to – defense can be able to keep this game, I think. Christian McCaffrey, not really much more you can say. I mean, he is one of the, if not the best running back in the NFL from just a versatile standpoint. 49ers got 2 of the most versatile players in the NFL. I think the question becomes, put an eye on McCaffrey, like, for instance, JOK, or how do you think you end up trying to contain McCaffrey? You're not going to stop him. You're not, because he's going to be using the passing game, going to be using the run game a lot. But how do you think they are going to go about containing Christian McCaffrey today?
I think limiting him in the receiving game is more important, in my opinion. I do. I think our defensive line and front seven in general can do their job. You know, they've proven it against some of the best backs in the NFL already. Like, I think they can do their job limiting rushing yards, but in the passing game is where it kind of concerns me a little more. So I think if you limit him out there, I think that's where he will make most of his big plays in the open field is in the passing game. So if you stop him there, like you said, JOK on over him or anything for that matter, dude, like anyone that you think could stop him in the passing game, just get that happening. And I really do trust Jim Schwartz to have some sort of answer for that. But on top of that, then you got to handle George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. It's just all around just one of the top offenses in the NFL. It's really tough to stop. So,
real quick, Jacob.
I'll say this in terms of talking about. Yep, I have the inactives. I'm putting them up right now.
Perfect.
But I was just gonna say real quick before I shared that. In the first 2 games or 3 games of the year, they were amazing at form tackling. They were amazing at not missing tackles. They were bringing everybody down. They were limiting it. That was why they were so successful. And then they were horrible against the Ravens. If you can't get back to that, then you know we're gonna have an issue. So, all right. So here's our inactive list for today. Ethan Posick is active. We'll be without Watson, Cedric Tillman, Khalif Halazi, Ronnie Hickman, Isaiah McGuire, Siaki Ika, and Joel Bitonio. So we will have the Chief, in fact, will start today. Really the big ones, just obviously Bitonio and Watson. But outside of that, really no big surprises.
Did we have to make Tillman inactive or something? Like, is there a reason why
he was hurt? He's hurt.
He's hurt.
He's hurt, yeah.
I just wasn't sure if we had to make him inactive because of PJ Walker, if he was one of those guys or something.
No, he.
No, that's why they called up Jalen Darden,
who will play today.
They called up Jalen Darden,
be your return man today.
Yeah,
it looks like so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, he's definitely.
Anyway,
they're
Jacob,
looking for a spark there.
You do have an announcement as well that you wanted to make at this time, correct?
Okay. Yeah, it's 11:30, so it's time. It's time to announce the winner of the Browns pullover starter jacket. Let me get that up on the screen too, real quick, as we go through it. I'm gonna show you guys this because it's sweet, man. This thing is sweet. It goes on sale tomorrow. So you can go check that out tomorrow. Where's my button? Probably should have not stopped sharing it, but here we go. So here we go. It's like shit. These are the pullover starter jackets from Homage, man. They look sweet. If you're from the 90s, like I am, you are very excited about that. I've got our winner though. We did give everybody the opportunity to enter to win one of these. And we're going to give it to Nicole. She's at Dog Pound Diva 3. So if you're watching this, please reach out to us. I'll tag you on Facebook here shortly. I'm sorry, on Twitter. I'll tag you on Twitter and give you the opportunity to DM us your information. But get that to us as soon as you possibly can because we don't want it to sell out. So actually, I'm just going to reach out to her directly right now. So I'll go ahead and take care of that. But thank you to everybody that entered. And please subscribe and tell your friends. We got all kinds of great stuff coming up for you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's a great time. Like I said, guys, if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Believe me, we're going to have many more giveaways. And this one was courtesy of our partners at Homage. If you want to be eligible for those, a big, easy reason to subscribe to the channel, that's right there. Even if you just watching the content for the first time, not really sure what we're about, even if you just want a chance to win some Browns, great reason to subscribe to the channel. So be sure to do that if you haven't done so already. I saw some comments here about, I'll go back here. It looks like we were talking. Someone said something about in Jim Schwartz we trust. It's a great comment. The reason I say that, Jim Schwartz is 1-7. It has a 7-1 against Kyle Shanahan in his career. Does that give you guys a little bit more of, maybe we do have a chance today? What do you guys think about Jim Schwartz's record against Kyle Shanahan? By the way, it is Kyle Shanahan does not have a worse record against any other defensive coordinator than Jim Schwartz in the NFL.
So I always when it comes to a lot of these win-loss records against each other, when it comes to coaches and quarterbacks and players like that, I don't like to lean too heavily just on the raw numbers because there's so many factors, right? There's so many factors that go out there to determine a win and a loss. But what I do like in Jim Schwartz's case is looking at the points per game. Yeah, Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you,
You're
Josh.
always here for us. We love you. We appreciate you always being there. If you guys want to help the channel and all the great creators we got going on here, you can become a member to the channel for $2.99 a month, or you can just throw us some bones to do something stupid, like throw us a $5 and be like, "Hey, Jacob, give yourself a wedgie." I don't know. We'll do it. I've done worse things for money. So it comes back to the points per game for me, and only one time against Jim Schwartz has Kyle Shanahan put up over 20 points. So that's the one that comes back to me. And it's like, and my co-host on our PSF app show with Casey Kinnaman and I is like, yeah, but isn't this the best offense that Jim Schwartz has probably ever faced when facing Kyle Shanahan? And I'm like, yeah, probably, but this is probably one of Jim Schwartz's best defenses while facing Kyle Shanahan at the same time. Because I think it's healthy too. Like there's some issues on the offensive side in terms of health. The defense is fine. The defense they've got all their starters out there, all their stars, all those guys that have been balling this year. They're all out there. Turnovers have not been bouncing their way. When the balls are fumbled, they bounce right back to the opposing offense. But it's got to regress to the mean, which means they're going to start being able to do it. You can get pressure on the right side of that offensive line. It's been playing better as of late, but to start the season, that's where almost all the pressure was coming from against Brock Purdy. You got Za'Darius over there. Ogbo's playing out of his mind. Maurice Hurst on the interior has been really good. And you got linebackers. He's got all the tools, man. If he goes out there and holds them under 20 points, I would not be shocked at all.
Yeah, I think the big thing with this is outside of Trent Williams, and this is not anything against the rest of the 49ers, but Trent Williams is the best left tackle in the NFL, arguably the best offensive lineman in the NFL, consistently every single year. But the one thing outside of Trent Williams, the offensive line is not super great. It really isn't if you guys look at it. I mean, for the most part, they're not very good. I mean,
They just ejected Kyle Hamilton for a helmet-to-helmet hit.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad hit. It was a pretty bad hit.
I admit I do not have it on, so I can't relate. Yeah. I will say this. When we're going by offensive linemen for the 49ers, outside of Trent Williams, everyone else is not great. I mean, what I want to ask you guys is this. Myles Garrett, we know how good he is, okay? Like, there's no doubt. But he is going to be matched up against Trent Williams a lot today. If you were Jim Schwartz, and now Myles doesn't do a lot, but would you switch Myles to the other side just so he doesn't have to go up against Trent Williams? or would strength on strength? Do you put your best against their best? Like, how would you guys handle that? Because it's obviously difficult when you're putting a guy in a position that hasn't really necessarily played it a lot. But I would almost want to put Miles more of up in the middle, kind of like what we've seen as a linebacker from time to time. I want to see more of that today because I do believe Miles can beat Trent Williams, but also I want to take my best player and use the weaknesses of that 49ers offensive line to my advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially when you have such a deep defensive line now, when you got, Ogbo, you got Zadarius, like I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Jim Schwartz has been utilizing this defensive line so well this year. So I definitely think you're going to see Myles Garrett just creating mismatches again. And he even said in this press conference, like, they can follow me around all they want, but they got to get set. So he's expecting that again. He's expecting them to come and just target him again on the defensive line. And when you have Zadarius Smith around you, when you have Ogbo, when you have Dalvin Tomlinson, you got a deep defensive line right now. Let him target Miles, because in general, dude, this defensive line is creating pressure and getting to the quarterback.
Interesting question for you guys. Do you know who I think he was like top two. I think he was number 2. Before last week's game, do you know who the second highest graded defensive tackle in the NFL was?
You saying before last week's game?
Yeah. So after the Ravens game, but not before week 5. So after week 4, when the Browns played their last game, who the second highest graded defensive tackle?
Defensive tackle. So is he on the Browns? Is this a trick question?
It is a trick question. The answer is Maurice Hurst. Maurice Hurst.
Okay.
Graded.
Man, he's been great.
So let me pull it up because I had his numbers. I want to make sure I give you the right number. He has an 89.9 overall grade right now from PFF. 89.9. Let's just. Okay. Yeah, sure, buddy. Like, you've got 7 solo tackles and 2 assists. This is my favorite part. 7 solo tackles and 2 assists. So 9 tackles, 7 of them are stop tackles.
That's nuts.
And 6 quarterback pressures.
Dude.
Like, the dude's played like 80 some snaps and he's just playing out of his mind. The dude has stayed healthy. He's shown that he's got the ability. Like, you can move these guys around and there is no reason you can't put pressure on Brock Purdy today. Put some pressure on him. Try to force some of these turnovers. Like, it should absolutely, you can absolutely limit this offense. I just don't. Everybody says, well, they haven't played anybody. I don't give a shit. They played NFL teams. This defense has played NFL teams and shut down 3 of them. And lost to one of the best. Lamar Jackson is playing as good as he played when he won the MVP right now. He's just shredding people from the pocket. So outside of that offense, nobody has gotten anything rounds. And I truly believe that is indicative of the coaching and putting people in a great position to succeed. And now they're going to face another great test, and they've got to beat one of these more elite level offenses than the offenses they saw in the first 3 weeks. But let me say, the 2 games since the Titans have played the Browns, they've scored points. The Titans have gone out there and their offense has played really well after getting absolutely shit canned by the Browns. So the whole, who has the Browns defense shut down this year? The answer is NFL teams.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly, man. And I think, again,
no, it's not important.
You're killing me. But no, again, the defense, people want to make excuses all day. And I think it's just there's still excuses that, well, the Bengals, Joe Burrow wasn't 100%. And the weather was bad. So you know what? That game really shouldn't count. The Titans are not that good. That shouldn't count. And even you could make the case with the Ravens, the offense just put them in so many bad positions. It's a lot of pressure on the defense, and the defense was on the field the majority of that game too. So, you know what? Let people say what they want. I'm telling you right now, the Browns defense goes out and I'm saying even if they lose, okay? Let's say the Browns defense goes out and holds this team under 20 points. They're going to command some respect around the rest of the NFL because at that point, you just have to take notice. I mean, when the 49ers are doing what they did to Dallas's defense and some of the other teams they've already played this year, averaging well over 31 points a game, if the Browns defense holds them to 20 or below that, like, if you don't respect the Browns at that point on the defensive side of the ball, then you're just being a hater because I don't know what more you want because this right now is the most prolific offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
And if you contain that, you deserve your respect. Bottom line.
Haterade.
Dude, you're killing me today. Absolutely cracking me up. So who are your I'm sipping water. Who are your X factors today for both teams? I'm going to start off on the 49ers side of things. I think at least on the offensive side ball for San Francisco, I know it really shouldn't be considered an X factor because he's still one of the top tight ends in the NFL, George Kittle. I feel like you could pay so much attention to Debo and Ayuk, and like we saw last week against Dallas, they'll just feed George Kittle for 3 touchdowns, and we're still one of the best tight ends in the league. Then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to say it's actually one of our old friends in San Francisco, and that is Tashaun Gibson. I think Tashaun Gibson has revived his career in San Francisco. He was a guy that originally wasn't even supposed to be there, but really be a stopgap for him, and then turned out to be one of the NFL leaders in interceptions. He's coming back to Cleveland. It's good for him because I have nothing against Gibson, so it's good for him to see that his NFL career has really taken a huge step forward. But I think he's the X factor because he really patrols center field for them really well. And you got to be really careful with him in the back end of that secondary. So those are the 2 X factors I got, at least on the 49ers side of things.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's funny though, because like when you think X factors, you don't want to be like you said, you don't want to be like super obvious and just be like, it's the quarterback. But for me, it's Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers offense because it's just like he's going to get his. It is one of the biggest factors for the Browns defense is like, are you going to tackle him and put him on the ground? Or are you going to let him eat you up after the catch and eat you up after contact in the rushing game, which is what he's done this year. Like we thought that like it was a cheat code giving Christian McCaffrey to Kyle Shanahan if he stayed healthy, and he stayed healthy. And it's been every bit of that cheat code that we thought when he got traded there from the Panthers. And it's just like this roster for the 49ers top to bottom is full of stars and full of talent, even considering how badly they missed on Trey Lance and lost those picks, and they're still stacked from top to bottom. And it's just like you've got to limit what McCaffrey can do after catch, because if you allow him to do what he's done all year, you're going to get carved up. So you've got to limit that. And I think that's step one, because then you can go and try to go after all the other pieces. I think it starts with Christian McCaffrey. On the defensive side, I think it's Javon Hargrave, because he's matching up at a good situation at defensive tackle, not having Joel Bitonio there. They do have Ethan Posick, but he's a little bit banged up with a couple of different injuries that he's dealt with since the Ravens game. I think he's fine, good, obviously good enough to go out there and play. But they may end up having to put Nick Harris in the game or something along those lines. And I like Nick Harris a lot, so I don't think it's a huge thing, but there's a matchup situation with Hargrave where he's going against less than stellar left guard play, if that's where he plays. And Wyatt Teller has struggled as a pass protector overall. So even if he goes on the other side, there's some of those things. So I think trying to make sure he doesn't wreck the game is very crucial for the Browns on their offensive side.
Yeah, I think on the offense side of the ball for me, I am going to go pretty obvious. I think it is Brock Purdy for their X factor, because, I mean, Jack pointed out, and I think a lot of you guys pointed out too, he does throw some turnover-worthy passes. Yeah. And the Browns defense is -7 in turnover differential, I believe, right now, and San Francisco's +7. So Browns need to start trending upwards a little bit in that category, and it could start today. I think the Browns and Jim Schwartz do a very good job of confusing opposing quarterbacks, putting them in tough situations, and I think they have a tough task, but a good opportunity to really get some momentum flying even more forward heading into these AFC opponents coming up here soon. So I think Brock Purdy, if you let him just get into a rhythm, it's going to be tough to overcome it. So I think if you stop him fast and early and often, we could be in good shape to manage the game with PJ Walker on the other side. And on the defense side of the ball for me, I'm a little worried about Fred Warner. I mean, he can be a playmaker, man. He's looking pretty good this year. Not too flashy, but in the same sense, he makes his presence known. So that whole defensive line, linebacker, everything, dude, like they're just going to be tough with this offensive line being a little beat up and, like Jacob said, less than ideal matchup. So I'm going to have to go with Fred Warner.
I mean, and with Fred Warner too. I mean, this is a guy that last week against Dallas was running down the field with Brandon Cooks like it's nothing. He's in the zone. He's playing zone coverage on CeeDee Lamb, playing it effectively, preventing the pass. I mean, Fred Warner is, I think, what makes that defense go. There's so much talent. I mean, you can make the argument it's Bosa, but I think Fred Warner is what really makes this defense go. Now he won't. It looks like I didn't see.
I'm looking right now.
Okay. Oh, you know exactly where I'm going with this.
Yep.
So perfect. Okay. Yeah, because I'm trying to find out if his partner in
Dre
crime
Greenlaw.
will be.
Dre Greenlaw is inactive today.
That's one piece of good news. Dre Greenlaw is very, very good. Everyone wants to talk about Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw's up there. Dre Greenlaw is a very good football player, and so him not playing today is a break for the Browns, at least on that side of things, because it's at least one less guy you got to worry about. Randy Gregory, who the 49ers just acquired from the Denver Broncos, he will be making his debut today, because of course he will. Yeah, of course he will against the Browns. But on the Browns side of things, guys, who are your two X factors on the offense and defensive side of the ball? I think for offense, I'm still waiting, and I'm gonna say it again, just because I said David Njoku would be more of the safety blanket, but I think the guy that really does need to be more involved today, and I'm talking in the receiving game, Elijah Moore. I think this is a really good opportunity for him in the slot today to take advantage of some subpar corners that San Francisco has. I know Amari Cooper is the big name. He is going to be matched up against Charvarius Ward, who is a very underrated corner, I feel like, in the NFL. This could be an Elijah Moore game. I really do think he can get a ton of targets today. Really want to see him used more in the passing game. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with you would think it's obvious, but I'm going to say Zarius Smith, because he is going to get those opportunities opposite of Myles Garrett today, and I think this is where he gets a sack today. I think he takes advantage. Been one of the best in the NFL all year, generating pressure. Again, being one of the best in the NFL does not mean that you get 5 sacks, sack a game. It's also what you do when you're not the one that's at the quarterback, and that's what Za'Darius Smith has done for the Browns all year. Again, we've talked about this line outside Trent Williams. It is average. It's not bad. It's not good. It's average. I think Za'Darius Smith can take advantage of that today. And I do expect Jim Schwartz to send some heat at Brock Purdy today, because one thing we have seen, and you guys have seen it too, if you can get a little pressure on Brock Purdy, he's not as – I mean, this makes sense with most quarterbacks. He's not as accurate. He's not able to – this offense struggles a little bit when you can get a little pressure on Brock Purdy. I expect to see some of that today. So I got Elijah Moore and Za'Darius Smith.
I also had Elijah Moore today, just because Nathan Zagura has been hyping me up since the bye week about what we can see coming out of the bye week for Elijah Moore, hinting that he's going to be used as a traditional wide receiver and not like a Deebo Samuel moving forward. I still think they're going to utilize Elijah Moore in many different ways. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, but I think they're going to let him use that elite separation and actually go out and, make plays as a wide receiver. So I'm going to use Elijah Moore as well. Like Tyler said, I think this could be a good game for him. Obviously, it relies on PJ Walker getting him the ball, offensive line doing their jobs. That's very important. Defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with, I think, JOK. I think JOK is going to have a tough task. I think they're going to use him as that Christian McCaffrey kind of kryptonite. That's what they're going to hope to do, kind of like they do with Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to go JOK on defense side of the ball.
First off, I'll use our quota. Fuck you guys. That taking Elijah Moore like that. So I
Use him. Who cares?
Why you guys thought that was? I don't understand why you thought that was cool and okay to do. I'll go Marquise Goodwin.
Okay.
I'll go Marquise Goodwin, and I'll steal what our friend Casey Kinnaman said the other day. Look for this team to potentially try to loosen up this defense with some deep shots. PJ Walker has a big arm. Like, you can't really debate that in the sense that is it the most accurate arm in the world? No, it is not. But in terms of trying to get I think you can get Marquise Goodwin isolated one-on-one because they haven't been able to hit a shot with him yet. So the threat of it just really isn't that intimidating. It's just like with Anthony Schwartz. Nobody ever thought he would catch those shots, so they never rolled coverage over to him and respected his ability to get deep. But I think that, Casey said, I think they'll go out maybe first play of the game and take a shot to Marquise Goodwin. And maybe they don't go right away, but when they do go to that, I think it is very critical that they find a way to hit some of these deep downfield shots. And it might be with Amari Cooper. It might be with David Njoku, but I think Marquise Goodwin, what he can do as just a straight line speedster, could open things up, a domino effect. They have to respect him deep. So the short and intermediate passing game and the run game get a little bit easier. And that allows them to try to play more complementary football as opposed to just throwing or just running. I think that can really have a domino effect. So I'm really excited. I really think that is something to watch on that side. On defense, I'm going to talk about a guy that has gotten some love, but does not get enough love. And that's Martin Emerson, man. Martin Emerson has been really good. He has been really good. He's allowed the lowest completion percentage when targeted in the NFL. He's a 26.8%. It's somewhere in that 26.8 or 26.6, something. That is what you're completing when targeting Martin Emerson. So 3 out of the 4 times you target Martin Emerson, you can expect it to be an incomplete pass. He's big, he's physical. You think when you look at him, you're like, oh man, that looks like a linebacker. And they're like, well, then he's probably not that athletic and fast. You would be. You're pretty stupid if you think that. You're a big old dum-dum, because the old dude can go out there and he can cover anybody. You got Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk, who all 3 of them can provide matchup mismatches, because all 3 of them can get down the field in a hurry and all 3 of them can be physical. And the thing is, you have a unicorn in Martin Emerson that can also do some of those things and erase some of these mismatches. And it's what he's done as a rookie. I think he's even better this year. So Martin Emerson trying to keep some of those mismatches that the 49ers provide, trying to cancel them out, I think is a big key. And I think Martin Emerson can do that. I think he's up to the task today.
Man, I'm telling you, that's another thing too. Like, we talk about respect with this defense not getting respect. A lot of people might know Martin Emerson's name at the end of today. I really think there are people that are going to know the name. And I think Denzel Ward's also an opportunity for him to make a statement as well. There are people that seem to believe that Denzel in big games does not seem to play as well. I think Denzel's going to play pretty well today too. But having your secondary healthy against this group of just overall offensive weapons is absolutely huge today. Well, boys, it's that time as always. We're about an hour away from kickoff. 49ers are in Cleveland. They're coming from the West Coast for a 1 o'clock game. So it's 10 o'clock. It's going to be 10 o'clock for San Francisco back home when this game kicks off. So I've said all week that's a little bit of an advantage for the Browns. It's going to be windy today. Might be some rain today. It might be a little bit of a sloppy game. How do you guys seeing this game play out? What are your predictions? What happens today?
So I thought you were going to tell me it was time for a nervous poop, but I think that's just in a couple more minutes.
No, that's coming after the show.
Comes after. Okay. All right. We're just making sure we're on the same page here. All week I've been trying to gas some people up in terms of saying, I just think it's ridiculous that you think people could go out there and say, like, they don't have any chance. They're going to get blown out. It's going to be this. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous because I look at some of the other scores. Look at what the Jets did week 1 without Aaron Rodgers. They beat the Bills. You know, the Titans go out and blow out the Bengals after getting blown out by the Browns. These are NFL teams. These are guys getting paychecks. They're going to go out there. I think they're going to fight hard. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think they'll lose 27-17 to the San Francisco 49ers today. But if they do win tomorrow, probably around 8 or 9 p.m., I'll be live on YouTube drinking a tablespoon of Apollo pepper sauce. And I'm sure somebody will be here with me to make fun of me. So circle back to this if I am wrong.
Oh, man.
All right, Zach, what do you got?
All right. Well, Wednesday I had this being just an absolute blowout for the 49ers. But the weather today is not ideal for those West Coast boys. I think our defense steps up and they do their job as much as they can. I just think it's a tough hill to overcome, man. It's a tough task to ask for, you know, a PJ Walker to come in and beat the best team in the NFL right now. It all depends. I really hope Jacob is drinking that pepper sauce tomorrow night. But right now, I'm going to not call the blowout, but I got the 49ers winning 24-13.
Yeah, we made our predictions on the Faithful Dogs podcast. That's Wednesday nights on the YouTube channel at 8 o'clock, but also on Lockerverse. For anyone wondering, but I'm kind of just going to stick with what I said. I do think the Browns keep this close in the first half. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a blowout right from the start. But I think as we get to the second half, midway through the third, the 49ers are going to start to show that they are the better team. And I just think the 49ers, they have too much firepower. I think this defense does keep you in it. I think the defense gets you a touchdown today. I said that on Wednesday. I'm saying it again today. I feel Brock Purdy is due for one of these turnover-worthy throws to turn into a pick six. He's due for it. I think it happens today, but I don't think it's going to be enough. But again, they're going to keep it close in the first half. But I got 49ers 31, Browns 17. Sticking with the same prediction I've had all week. 49ers juggernaut, man. They really are. And, you know, if we had some other key players in this game, maybe I would think a little bit differently as far as it would be closer. But I just think I had this game circled for a while as a Browns loss beginning of the year. Nothing's persuading me otherwise. So we're going to see what happens today. It's going to be – honestly, I hope the weather is really bad because I think that gives the Browns an even better chance personally. But anything else you guys want to add on this game before we wrap things up?
Well, I did want to ask a question.
Okay.
Zach, do you know how a robot has sex?
No, Jacob, I don't.
He nuts and bolts. Yeah. Nuts and bolts.
All right, guys. Go Browns.
Thank you for tuning into this pregame show. Thank you, guys. And as always, all I can say is go Browns.